Hi guys, dirty job here. ALEC Peirce at the ranch. Dirty job. Time to check the brakes, check the wheel bearings, and check the brakes. So that's what I did. Now I'm not going to go through the wheel bearings and the brakes because there's 101 videos already on there, as good or better than mine. But there were a couple of small things that I thought I would share with you. I use bearing buddies. A lot of people do. If you've not heard of bearing buddies, search it. They're fantastic. I've had them for many, many years. Normally, a hub like this comes with a cap, just a cap to cover the castellated nut and the cotter pin. Okay, and then every once in a while you have to take that out and you have to grease the bearings. Well, to grease the bearings properly, you actually have to take it out, take it apart, take the two bearings out, or at least grease the bearings while they're in there. And that can be a dirty, messy, and tough job. And then in between, you don't really know for sure. If you do it once a year, that's good, but if you use the trailer a whole lot, maybe once a year isn't enough, and particularly if you're a boater and you got water, particularly if it's salt water, and you just don't know. What does a bearing buddy do? Well, it's really very simple. The bearing buddy replaces that cup. You take the hubcap off, and you take this bearing buddy, this thing. Okay, you see it? And it fits down in there. And you tap it down in firmly, piece of wood, hammer, and it goes right in there. Just that easy. All right, and then you see the bearing buddy has a grease fitting on the outside. You see that grease fitting in there? You see that, Dana? There's a grease fitting in there. So now what do? After you get it on there, now what you do is you put your grease gun on there and you start pumping. And you pump. And what's happening is, as you pump that grease in, that grease is traveling over the whole shaft, gets to the rear bearing, does the whole front bearing. It actually pushes grease right through. More than that, if you take another look in here, Diana, you can see there's a spring in there. You see that spring? And that spring in there, it pushes on a plate. So as you're pumping grease, what you'll see eventually is you'll see that plate slowly coming toward you. What's happened is you have lots of grease in there now, and there's so much grease, as you continue to put it in, the grease is pushing that plate out. Now, it can only come out so far. And the spring reaches the outside edge. Stop pumping. You don't pump too much grease in there. You'll potentially ruin the oil seal back at the back there, the grease seal. But now the point is that this bearing buddy, this whole capacity now is full of grease. And even better, it's under pressure. But very slowly, that spring is pushing grease into the bearing all the time. All the time that you're driving around with your trailer, grease is slowly but surely being pushed into the wheel bearings. Can't beat it. It keeps water out, keeps dirt out, and it continually is greasing the bearings. Just a fantastic idea. What I really wanted to mention to you, and again, there's lots of YouTube videos about that. What I really wanted to mention to you is that many trailers have a grease fitting right there. See it on the end? A lot of them don't. A lot of trailers don't. Inexpensive trailers or simple trailers don't have that. But lots of trailers do have a grease fitting right there. So that when you can just take off the little normal hubcap and you put a grease gun on that, and grease goes through, it comes out, there's a hole here and there's a hole at the back. And it goes through and pumps grease into the two bearings. Well, that's wonderful. However, if you're going to put bearing buddies on, which does a better job because it has that grease under pressure, if you're going to put bearing buddies on, you just need to take that grease fitting off. Take the grease fitting off. If you don't, it's almost impossible to imagine that there's enough pressure from that spring to force grease through that high pressure grease fitting. But now you have a hole here coming out from the front bearing, and that grease goes right back to the middle and comes out the hole at the back and greases the back bearing. But you need to take that grease fitting out. Now, I've watched quite a few YouTubes about this, and they're all good guys, and you learn a lot from the YouTube videos about your trailer wheels and bearings and everything else. But I couldn't see anywhere where anybody says that if you do have a grease fitting in the end of the shaft, that you need to take that grease fitting out before you put your bearing buddy on. Okay, small thing. There's a grease fitting inside the bearing buddy. You don't need it. And you want that grease that's in there to be pushed right down through the shaft. Okay, small thing. Thought you might enjoy that. Maybe you learn something too. Take care. ALEC Peirce at the ranch, doing a dirty job, but we're getting it. Bye-bye.